now my life's wasting away, away, away. Yeah. Hey, yo. I wish that I could go back to that day, yo. Before they put me in this fucking jail, yo. 'Cause now my life's wasting away. What's he gonna do now? He had to get them back somehow. 'Cause now everybody in his hood knows who could help him, Lord knows. Looks at the sky, ain't got no reply. What he didn't realize when he picked up that knife and rolled out that knife, he took his own life. If you play with fire, you get one. If you think you're bad, boy, you get one. You win some, you lose some, you get none. Hey, yo, I wish that I could go back to that day.
Welcome to the after show. Hello, we have Dr. J over there and is over here. I am Max. Cat is somewhere else. How is everyone doing? We have musical intro. That song, I made that song a bunch of years ago, but I stole the lyrics, so I can't publish it like officially. And the debate was took an unexpected turn when they were talking about Jimmy, and that song is called "Jimmy Wants to Be a Gangster." And very sad story, he dies. Dr. J, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I just joined.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing awesome. Today the weather is fun, freaking tastic. Isa, hello.
How's it going?
Doing pretty well. Hello to the people. So we had a debate, well, or something, more or something than a debate, but okay. Paul and Jimbob, Christianity or circular humanism? What do you call it? An eclectic type of secular humanism, but secular humanism nonetheless. I think he did well in some things. It was weird. It went all over the place. But what did you think, like in general, Dr. J?
Yeah, I'm not sure if our debater could have defined secular humanism. I don't even know if he cared about that at all. So not that I would be a good defender either, but it did seem odd.
It went, but he said some of the things and got some of the things that I would consider kind of not quite, because there are, I don't know, but it gets very finicky with the no true Scotsman thing.
Because you would think there would be like, here's the list of what secular humanists believe. Here's the list of what Christians believe. Which one of those will be better? That is not how these debates go at all, ever.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Actually, Issa's was a tiny bit that way. If I don't remember it clearly, so I hope I'm not misrepresenting. But I think when Issa debated it, I think he tried to show the commonality between what he believed in secular humanism. Was that even the debate, Issa? Was that the subject of the debate when you did that?
Yeah, with Matt Dillahunty.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we actually brought up our positions. I don't recall our friend, what's his name? Egotist. He didn't really.
Paul.
Paul didn't. Paul didn't really. I don't think showcase like a secular position. He was kind of like, I'm Taoist, and I'm like, that's cool, but he wasn't necessarily positing what the secular position is versus the Christian one. He kind of talked a lot about his childhood and his family and how he came from a Christian family. I think it was a little bit different than my kind of situation. I'm like, I was trying to talk about what Islam was and offer an experience of Islam, but I get you. Like, it was very cordial, but it was interesting because it was like he was kind of talking about like that they come from the same background. He's like, I'm from a Christian background too, so.
And I always think it's funny. The one Christian goes, "Oh yeah, I was from this crazy Pentecostal background, wild, ridiculous." I'm like, "Wait, you're like totally defending this. You're like Christianity's the way to go." And
Rah, rah,
these
rah.
people are your friends, yet you're kind of knocking on them. Yet there's tons of people that are in the Pentecostal movement that would go, "Oh, I grew up Eastern Orthodox and boring, lame. They didn't care about the spirit at all. It was dead in that church."
There are some very strange denominations of Christianity that do very strange stuff. Uh, the the not celebrating birthdays is kind of a weird one for me because it's the only your day of the year. Come on, celebrate. It's weird. I don't like it. I forgot to put the link, but I did now. So if you want to join, it's there. You can come here. And before you do that, make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and just subscribe to Yerba at the top. I'm sorry, my voice is weird today. Openings, Jimbob, who wants to start?
I'll start again.
You got it.
He prepared an opening. I don't know if I remember the particulars anymore, but yeah, he definitely prepared an opening and had arguments, and I'm not sure how much we ever got back to those arguments, which is why I probably don't remember it very well, or at least not in a systematic way that was easy to remember. So, but he seemed to have something prepared.
Yeah. But we've heard it before. It's pretty much the same thing he said to me. Isa. You are muted.
I would say just Jim, standard Jim approach.
Yep. Really, how are you?
Doing good. How's everybody doing? Dr. J, Issa, Max?
Good.
Fun freaking tastic.
Nice. Jim Bob's opening, yeah, he like you guys were saying, he's done it before, so it was nothing new. But that's usually his style, is to just use the same talking points he feels comfortable using, because he knows that he can try and get someone into a philosophical trap, or try and use semantics to make his point. That's about it.
Yeah, more in the definition game and so on. It's not impressive. It's so boring.
I don't. If he thinks his arguments are right, I mean, the only way we could knock him too bad is if we said his arguments have been defeated many, many times, yet he keeps bringing them over and over again. If he thinks they're correct, why wouldn't you just keep using the same ones?
That's a good point,
but
too,
the
though.
problem is that he gets defeated every time because
well, he didn't get defeated this time, I don't think.
Well, the other guy sucked. But I mean, when he asks the questions, there's a lot of things baked in more in the open discussion. But he always says that there's no justification, and I can give you all the moral justifications for a lot of those things that he says that secular humanists don't have. So his conclusions on where it leads, they're wrong. And when there's no way to avoid it, like, yeah, we don't allow murder, it's always the cop out. Oh yeah, but you take that from Christianity. But that it's like, okay, head side win, tails you lose. How that doesn't work as an argument for me.
Well, and I think it's strange too to say, well, it's Christianity that causes morals and ethics. I'm like,
No.
I could say it's Judaism. You can't really trump that. I could say Christianity is just a derivative of Judaism. And like it's surprising nobody actually uses that as a rebuttal. Like it's not hard. And you could say Judaism is a derivative of ancient Babylonian cultures. Like you can play that kind of game. I don't see the value of it, but
Yes, that's kind of the point. I don't like that argument. It's boring. But my first note on I don't have much else to say about Jimbob's opening. But my first note on I was using our Discord conversation for that was for Paul. Oh my God, prepare an opening statement. But I'm going to say hello to Cybos before we head into that. How are you?
Hello, people. It's good to see you all
Hey.
again.
You too.
Thank you.
Give us your thoughts on Jimbob's opening.
Myself or somebody else?
Yes, you, sir.
Oh, yeah. Jimbob. Well, I mean, he's a pseudo-intellectual that thinks he's a philosopher, and he's actually more like, what's the word? He's more like a poor man's, a straw man apologist, because he even gets that wrong, right? I mean, I don't know where to start. What made me come in was to talk about Christianity, because there's a book out by someone called Tom Holland, who
Spider-Man.
no, a different Tom Holland, I guess. Thank goodness. I think it's Tom Holland. I might be wrong now. Anyway, I think it is. Anyway, he's again an Oxford or Cambridge intellectual who has traced the history of Christianity and swears that everything comes from Christianity, morals, ethics. You know, you couldn't have had that. And like you know, the number of times I've heard people just point out to him, well, you know, the golden rule could come from Buddha, could come from Confucius, could come from, you know, all these other places. If not, it's just common sense anyway. It's just internal tribalism, right? Would get you the golden rule regardless. So, and the version Christianity has is probably the worst of the golden rules that we have on offer. So, it dumbfounds me when they say European history would be nothing without Christianity. Yeah, but Christianity would be nothing without Greek philosophy. So what? So what? I mean, it's a genetic fallacy anyway. Do you have a real argument? You know, and that's
Very
Jim Bob. That's Jim Bob for you.
Yes, I
One
kind of agree.
one series of fallacy after another, and the fact is he doesn't even know that he's making them. That's what's so sad.
I took some interesting notes tonight, so we might get a glimpse into some of those.
Okay.
Because he
Right.
said some very funny stuff today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our friend also, 1 over n squared, which is Basil, was sending questions because he was very angry about at the Christian nationalist channel that he was sending money to it.
Ooh.
Yes, that was fun. Andrew Nazario, welcome. Hello. Can you hear me? Or more better question, can you speak? You might have a problem with the microphone. In the meantime, whenever you're ready, just say like hello and we'll give you a chance. Let's get ready for the opening of Paul, which I think I'll jump the gun and start first. Paul, make this a debate, make an opening, make a case. That was painful and horrible. There we go. I think we got you.
Yes. Okay. How bad
Hello.
is it?
Yeah. No, now it's good.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Give us your thoughts
So-
on Jimbob's opening.
Yeah. This is coming from a more. I'm a Christian, so I'll just say that out front. But
All right.
like, it's like while I agree with Jimbob, like the way he gets to it, sometimes I'm just like, that's not. I don't really agree with his method of getting there. Sometimes his conclusion, I'm like, okay, I get his conclusion, but how he gets there, I generally don't think is valid. Like, especially when he says, like, oh, this good came from Christianity. Now, from a Christian worldview, if you say, like, oh, because of the Christian God who is true made goodness and whatever, then I guess you could say that. But the real position in Christians is that, like, that goodness can be in non-Christians and stuff like that. I don't really see the way he frames things sometimes. I'm just very So, like, yeah, Jimbob is someone I don't like his methods of getting to conclusions that I agree with. So he's a little bit of a frustrating guy.
I understand that for sure. Because I debated him and I experienced that from the other side. It's very frustrating to talk to him because he doesn't understand even when you explain a couple of times. And he uses the same things always. Like they ended up talking about necrophilia and so on. And he's like, dude, we can perfectly justify why you shouldn't do that. It's not really a problem. That's not the objection you should have about the worldview, kind of. Because for the most part, we agree. So do around on Paul's opening, which was a rebuttal. Actually, he just went straight into that. So Dr. J,
Yeah, the non-opening.
yes,
Then we had the rebuttal, and I'm gonna have to jump, Max. So I'm gonna really talk for a couple of minutes here about my overall thoughts of the debates because I'm gonna have to jump.
you got it.
I think I've said this before, so I'm kind of beating a boring drum here, I guess. But I think that Paul did a fine job of admitting he's making things up as he goes along. That's fine. That's what secularists do. They make some rules, like we care about humans or we care about this or whatever, and they follow those rules. But they kind of made up those rules. But he just completely let the Christian guy not admit that he's also making things up as he goes along. Even when he talked about how the Pentecostals he grew up with do all this crazy stuff. It's like, wait a second. I thought you had a unchanging moral standard in which just we can absolutely follow, no problem. We don't have to have any issue with it. And the very fact that you are kind of instantly willing to make fun of your fellow Christian brethren and their behavior, to me, demonstrates the fact that you are also making things up as you go along. And he never got pressed on that. Never, ever, 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 ever got pressed on it. So he is allowed to press the secular humanist into saying, you're making this up as you go along. That's horrible. You're making this up as you go along. That's horrible. Look at you have no standards. Seculars have no reason to want to have kids. They have no reason to do morals. They're just deciding on these reasons. They just make up reasons and yada yada yada. He goes attack. And the other guy just let him do it. He just completely just was on the defensive the whole time, never said, yeah, you do the same thing. Because then if you to me, if you can't get him to agree you're doing the same thing, you're never going to go forward. You have to get him to agree we're both making it up as we go along, which he probably never will. And then you go, and now do we want to have the Bible and Christianity as a part of that as we go from there? Is it valuable or is it not? And I think that's what they should be. That's where the conversation could go. But the secularists never, ever, ever makes the Christian say, yeah, we're making it up as we go along too. They never get that far. And so I find it frustrating.
I think you got it right that he will never admit even though the reason is clear. I don't think you can get him to really admit that. You may be right on that one.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go, guys. Sorry, my brother messaged me
problem.
here, so I'm gonna jump off. Good to see you guys. We'll talk.
You got
later.
it. Bye bye.
Yes.
Isa. Let me move Billy. There we go.
Let me get off the mic. I'll get on the mic.
Yes.
I think you said it right. It was a rebuttal. I don't think it hit the note. I wasn't impressed. I would be interested of how FTFE would have handled it. Um, I mean, I think these debates are really interesting. Modern day debates, like what it's interesting is you throw random people into the fire, into the fray, and then you just see what happens. Sometimes you have chemical reactions. You know, like when you put sodium and chloride, you get salt, right? So
Yeah.
we see what kind of redox reduction equations we get, like formulations we get with the different types of elements we throwing into the stew. I was not persuaded. I was not convinced, and um, we have a teaching in our way is that when we do the pimp our argument, you need a presentation, you need a PowerPoint, you need to showcase something so you have a foundation. Build foundation. You're making a house here. Build a house. I don't think we had really much houses built here. So
no. It's only uninterrupted time you have to make your case. Like, dude, like take advantage of it. Well, it makes no sense strategically to do that. It's silly. Learn from it. Don't do that. Simons.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say too much about it because I literally halfway through Jimbob's bollocks, I just rage quit. I just, there's no point. Like, it's Jimbob. Like, he's just the other guy's gonna say, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong, and this is wrong. And Jimbob's just gonna go, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. And that'll be the debate. So I'm glad to hear that this guy, Paul, whom I'm not sure if I do know him or not.
I didn't.
I'm glad to, well, it might be Paul Camish, maybe, but I don't know. I'm glad to hear that he went straight to a rebuttal, because there's no point in giving like arguments to Jimbob, because he's just going to go nah, Christianity, and like when I've spoken to Jimbob in the past, when you sit there and point out like that he's philosophically inept, he just starts going down the precept argument trail,
Yes.
and then you just go, okay, well, there we are. That's interesting conversation, and away we go. So
yes, that is exactly
that's basically all of
when I spoke to him.
Yeah.
Andrew, thoughts on Paul's non-opening?
I think Issa said it right, where it's just like sometimes modern day debate puts two chemicals in a beaker and sees what happens. Sometimes that produces, intellectual conversation. Sometimes it makes a screaming match, and sometimes it makes this. It was funny because I guess from my experience in seeing debates, especially religious debates against atheists, against other religions, is that you definitely see levels to these things. I definitely see like something like Dr. J.
Yes.
He brought up something that was a good point that was sort of like, okay, that's a more intellectual conversation. We can have that sort of discussion. But when it's something like this, I'm not expecting to be convinced by either side. Even if I agree with Jimbob, I wouldn't say I found him the most convincing on much of anything, except for some of his stuff of like, oh, you're relying on this, you're relying on subjectivity, objectivity. You're saying that subjectivity is objective truth. Stuff like that, I generally tend to decide it, but like a lot of his stuff, I don't really agree with. So
yeah, here we are kind of about evaluating the argument, and then of course if you have a personal opinion you can give your personal opinion, no problem, but we kind of go, and what Jimbob does is not the best argument for Christianity, no freaking way.
Absolutely not.
Then they started with the open discussion. And one of the first things Jimbob said was like, why care for humans? And, I was thinking, and Paul didn't say much on that. And I was thinking like, dude, all species are kind of speciesist by nature because you can only breed with or kind of hang out with the same species, right? And I think that's more than enough reason so that people, even by just by accident, will have kids, because animal. So I don't get the point. What the objection is to that thing? The majority of people will want to breed. It's kind of hardwired into being. But he thinks it's a nice argument. Then I'll say one more thing, and we'll spread it. Then they went into what I love, the poop argument, kind of pressing on Paul that, oh, you think that we're all kind of the same, because Paul has the Taoist kind of mindset. So he was talking about the oneness and yada yada. And Jimbob tells him that, oh, then you think that you're no different than poop. The problem with that is like, yes, but then you become grass, that becomes a zebra that eats you, and now you're a lion, and then you die, and you're a worm, and you're grass again, and you get eaten by a rhino, and you cycle and cycle forever and ever, and you're also made of stardust, and you're everything in the universe, not just poop. And that is like reductionist, because you have to take being poop to continue the cycle, and that's it, problem solved. But Paul gave up on that. He kind of made, and I was excited for a second, he made the allusion to that, to the fact of the oneness, but then didn't lay it out. He just got stuck on the poop thing. Thoughts, whoever wants to jump in. I need to get water, and I'll be right back on the open discussion. I'll be back in a second.
Well, I didn't get to say anything about the intro, but I wasn't going to say anything about Paul's intro anyways, because he kind of was, he just did a rebuttal and was, just responding to what Jimbob said, and he didn't actually present his argument like he could have done. He chose to waste his introduction trying to do a rebuttal against Jimbob instead of presenting his case. And other than that, the open discussion, though, there's a lot of problems I had with Paul, but Jimbob obviously too is I don't like him either. So I think they both lost. It was a double knockout. They both knocked each other out, and they wanted to be. They're friends. They became friends now. They're gonna text each other, and they're gonna hang out and have a good time, I guess. Yeah. I have some other things to say, but I'll let someone else go now.
You got it. Whodunit said there's a story called The Egg by Andy Weir that's pretty much that concept. Unless that's what you were talking about. I missed the first bit. No, I was kind of following the idea of Jimbob saying you believe that humans are just like poop. From the, Taoist that it's more than that. It's part of the cycle. Is it a little icky? Sure. But it happens to everything. Okay. Isa, thought?
My thoughts.
Yep.
I was looking as I was modding the chat, and I saw people say cringe, cringe, cringe. I noticed that. And they said, oh, they're giving each other a BJ. I was like, wow, that was heavy.
Oh, they get aggressive sometimes.
I personally did not. I like dialogue like this. It was actually kind of interesting to hear a conversation between people instead of like epic battles. So I'm like, I kind of was interested in it. I was like, oh, there's an interesting dialogue here, and they have a lot in common. It didn't bother me in that way, because like I like having dialogue, but like it's interesting because it's like, what's the debate about? And I think in reality, it was kind of cool because we actually learned more about Jimbob today. Usually Jimbob is on the defensive and, he's very philosophical, but he kind of seemed like a person today. It was kind of cool to see that. I'm like, wow, there's a human being here. I felt there was a sort of a human being here more than just like this kind of philosophical robotic space. And they were kind of relating on a lot of different things. And I think that they have a lot in common. in reality. There was some weird stuff that came up, like the sexual stuff. I'm like, bisexual. I'm like, why is this stuff coming up? I don't know why, but like, okay.
Say it, say it. A lot of trauma dumping.
There was definitely a lot of that. What was the it's Christianity or secular humanism? Yeah, I don't think that was addressed at all. I don't think that was there at all, because I don't think even what's the Paul, I don't think Paul is interested in secular humanism. He's interested in his own kind of spiritual tradition.
Right.
And I'm like, you didn't like vet that from the beginning. You didn't see what his perspective was on this topic. It's like, okay. I mean, it's weird because I'm just thinking about modern day debate. Like when we've been watching the Islamic dilemma debates, I'm like, you're not having a debate on Islamic dilemma. You're having one person who's hyper defensive and just like, I got to just repeat the same echo chamber talking points for my position. I'm not actually going to engage what the argument is. And then you have a person who's like, I'm going to say this thing about the argument. And I'm like, I kind of felt the same way here. I'm like, you have a person who's just kind of talking about their own opinion, their own feelings, but it isn't actually engaging what the topic is. We have to say which thing is better. So in order to do that, we have to know what these things are, and then we have to explode from there. So didn't see that, but you know.
Yeah, he's unorthodox to say the least. Simos, you said you tuned out after Jimbob, right? So
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I came back in from time to time, but like it was just too much for me. Like, okay, I give. I'm wrong. Obviously, I said it was interesting to hear a conversation. So clearly, that it didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go halfway through Jim Bob's intro, and that's fair enough. One of the criticisms I've had about modern day debate for some time, and I think it really shows when you get titles like this for a debate, which is best for society. Right. So you're asking for an abductive argument which can be shown to be true through data. Right. That's the only way to settle a question like which is best.
right.
So what does that mean? Jim Bob is incapable of giving an abductive argument. Number one, I've never heard him give an abductive argument. Every single time he's given deductive arguments, which you think logically and necessarily follows, and that's why God is right, which is okay. That's his position, fair enough. But I disagree. And then the second thing is to say something like Christianity or secular humanism. Okay, I completely agree with Isa. You've got to then define what both of those things are, and then compare and contrast. And like, is there any chance of getting Jim Bob to nail down his Christianity? I don't think so. I really don't think so. He's a pre-supper. He's used his pre-sup tactics. So that, just by the very nature of some of his arguments and his better arguments, he cannot get drawn into a conversation about Calvinism or, predestination or any of these things. So we're not going to know what his version of Christianity is anyway. He's just not that sophisticated with his apologetics. And then if the other guy didn't even address the secular humanism part by saying,
he was weird.
The definition of a standard is being human, and we are social animals by the nature of our evolution, and because of that, the golden rule is easily the best rule to live by. Right? Well, that's it. Right? We're empathetic creatures. That's how we've evolved to be. That's how we've become so successful. So isn't that a good enough standard to judge what's good? Right? You could use the Rouseyan filter, right? And say, okay, well, without knowing who you are, which would you be, master or slave? If you agree with slavery, right? You can't pick who you're going to be. Do you agree with slavery? Well, no, obviously, unless you can be the master, you don't agree with it because slave's not going to agree with it, right? So that's the metric by which you can determine some kind of objectivity.
That is an interesting thought, sure.
Yeah.
Let me read this from Catherine. I turned into MDD to watch a debate, not to hear about body
Yeah,
dysfunctions, necro stuff, and their sexual proclivities. It was a broad chat gone awry. It always ends in that, and it's like, dude, we all agree that those things are bad for other stuff, other reasons. We can say that those are bad for many different reasons at the same time, and we can discover new reasons in the future. It's not really that big of a problem. Andrew, any thoughts on the open discussion part of the debate? Because I have more notes.
Yeah.
I just think that. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I had blipped out a little bit on the internet. So last time I heard you guys were doing the main back and forth, and
Yes,
just
the
like
open
some
discussion.
notes. Jimbob definitely tried to do the like is ought problem or like the moral argument, like objective morality. To how successful he presented those things, I'm not sure. And I actually would disagree with Issa. I think there was engagement, just on the wrong topic, just not on the topic that was being discussed. So there was definitely engagement. There was back and forth. It just most of the time wasn't on the topic. I think you're right that I'm not sure if Ego Paul knew what secular humanism was. If he just thought, oh, that's atheism and I'm an atheist, so therefore I'm a secular humanist. Maybe that's what happened.
Wow.
But like we could go back and forth on their intellectual blunders, or so to say, but like it's just
Right.
sometimes like
I took some notes because I was laughing a little bit at some of the stuff. And my next note is that Jimbob doesn't believe in history, and that is adorable.
He doesn't believe in history.
No.
What
Well,
explain?
except for Jesus, though.
Yeah.
obviously.
You cannot
is it
trust.
because he's young Earth?
Yeah.
He
That is
doesn't
fair.
believe in Oh, I
The-
see.
of the
Okay.
earth.
He doesn't
And
mean
but
history
it,
then.
it wasn't
Okay.
us, but I mean we have to Jimbo, is it flat or is it a globe?
He could be flat Earth.
Yeah. Someone
He's
needs
on the
to ask
fence.
that
He's on the fence. He said.
urgently. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you are a flat earther, you don't believe in history, you think that the earth is 6,000 years old, what are we doing? Like, we don't live in the same world. I don't know how to deal with that. Thoughts?
I actually want to address something Andrew said. I think
You got it.
no, I do think that they had a very interesting dialogue. I do think it was it was a conversation about personal things. It really was not about the topic. I think that was the issue, that the topic was not addressed. It was just, and I agree actually that I don't think what's his name Paul knows what even secular humanism is. He's just like, I'm here to represent myself and what I think, and I'm like, that's cool. I don't have a problem with that. I just think it's an interesting way to have a debate where you're like, you really don't know what the person is even going to debate. And it's interesting because like having debated engaging like with Islamic topics, it's fascinating that most people who debate Islam, it's just really the same type of thing that I've noticed every single time. If you look at a lot of the debaters on modern day debate who are debating for Islam, they basically just deflect a lot and they attack Christianity and atheism and other religions. They don't really actually defend Islam. I haven't heard many arguments where people are actually defending Islam, which is kind of bizarre You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's a tactic where it's like, I don't need to engage my own stuff. I'm just going to say, well, like with underage marriage, let's put it that way. I'm just going to say other people do it. I'm like, that doesn't mean your thing is right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's my biggest problem with debaters who do this deceptive tactic where they're like, and I've seen this a lot, not just in this department, but in other places where it's like, your thing is so bad. Well, because, my thing isn't bad because other people do it. What the heck is that? What kind of argument is that? It's so bad. It's such a rubbish argument. Like, if those people are bad, that doesn't make you good. That doesn't make you a good person.
Right?
So it's like, it
excuse
doesn't make your religion. It doesn't make your religion right. It doesn't make your belief system right. And I'm like, I don't like that deceptive tactic. I'm like, it's a lot better to just be like, okay, I have limitations here and there and be accountable for that. And then say, okay, despite my limitations, your limitations are greater than my limitations. You could make some kind of argument like that. That would be a better place. But that's not what's going on. It's just mostly, lots of deflection and no engagement of personal arguments, of your personal positions. I think that's problematic. But in this particular debate, I just was like, there was a potential for having a deep dive, but like,
Paul wasn't there for that.
Yeah, it was just like, I just really want to talk about my life. That's kind of like what I heard. I was like,
You're
wow.
bonding.
Yes.
I was like, wow. What I'm doing here.
And talking about lives,
Right, so almost.
how excited are you, Isa, about Daniel Pikachu versus Andrew Wilson? I am.
There's going to be a lot of
ecstatic.
deflection. There's going to be a lot of
That is going
deflection.
to be fantastic.
I did see Andrew Wilson versus Muslim Lantern, and I was very impressed with Andrew Wilson's performance. Muslim Lantern is very deceptive. Like, I was listening to him, and he's like, don't talk bad about my religion. And I'm like, then why are you in a debate, dude? You have to be willing. It's like, you cannot say anything bad about my religion. It's wrong to do that. You can't say things that are hostile. And I'm like, you are liable to that. You're liable to that, huh?
What did Andrew say after? Because I remember one of those.
Well,
Andrew's whole argument was that Muhammad had a small penis.
Well, so that
I swear to cow.
No, it's correct. That was the same debate.
He measured it.
So no, what he was doing in the position is he's like, you're making the argument, Muslim Lantern, that that this is okay, that a small girl who has basically 2.5 inches of down there can have relations with an adult man. And he said, well, you could take the position. He's basically making Muslim Lantern take this. He's making Muslim Lantern either kind of emasculate the Prophet of Islam if you take this position, or take the position of that he's a bad guy. Like, it was actually a pretty impressive technique that he was doing. I get your point, though. It sounds weird, but it's impressive in the sense that what he's doing is he's saying, look, you have a choice. Your choice is this. Your guy is this evil monster with, that attacked this little girl, or he had a very tiny little thing that couldn't actually do any damage. So he didn't really actually do damage. So that's
a loaded that's a loaded question. No matter how he answers, it's gonna look.
Yeah, it was meant to offend because he knew that the other guy couldn't handle even listening to that. So it's so dishonest and trashy.
Well, but what the other guy did was just like attack Christianity. I'm like, dude.
I know the other guy imploded.
Well, and the other guy, and I'm like, and the guy, Andrew. So Andrew was successful in his technique. It worked. You could say it was a deceptive, dishonest technique, but it worked because the other guy is far more deceptive and dishonest. Like, that guy was like, and he did the same tactic I always talk about, where it's like, Christianity's so bad. I'm like, dude, you're in a continuous religion. You have to believe in this stuff. You're stuck believing in the New Testament and the Torah. And if you say that these books are gone and corrupted, then you know what your position is? You believe in phantom prophets. You don't believe in real prophets. You believe in these phantom peanut gallery prophets that have no history, that have no value. The only thing that we know about these people is they believed in one God. that's so stupid. And like, I've been listening to this a lot lately, and it's like been
Wait,
driving
yes,
me
because
nuts.
but we're talking about this other thing. We can watch
I-
that
Alright.
live because I
I
fucking
actually-
hated that.
I actually have a question for Isa on that topic. So,
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
go ahead and do what you
One-
need to do. Yeah.
Stop the stupidity gifted 5 Sherba Mate Talks memberships, and they went to Diver Dan Navy Vet from Bumbly, Tay, Paul's Heart Attack Support, and Paul. That's funny. Paul's Heart Attack Support and Paul got a membership. So, Paul, you have 1 free heart attack. Be sure to cash it in. Simon, sorry.
Well, yeah. If nobody else wants to say anything, I'd like to just ask Isa while I've got his education
go-
here on the
I wa-
topic.
I got some
Go
stuff,
ahead.
but I'll wait till you're done. I'll wait till you're
No,
done.
no, no. You go ahead
uh,
because I can come back to the Islamic dilemma thing.
Okay,
Yeah, we
well-
can talk about that later. Let's finish with this one.
Okay,
please,
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
I have a couple more notes. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, for one, like kind of later in the debate, Paul said when he was talking, like I'm trying to bring the context to. They were talking. He was trying to list the commandments or something, and then he's like,
Yes.
"I'm not that good of a Christian." So why did he say I'm not that good of? It was obviously messed up because if or else he would be like he's saying I'm not that good of a. Instead of saying I'm not that good of a Christian, you should say I'm not a Christian, so I don't. So he's probably slipped up there. Like he obviously is not a Christian. He said he was a Taoist, spirituality
But he
guy.
grew up. And he still, I don't know. It's
Or
that
maybe there's
remnant
some
of having grown up around Christians that they make you feel bad if you don't remember their bullshit.
And
Yeah.
were they debating Taoism because he was defending Taoism more
For
than
some reason.
secular
yes.
humanism and spirituality, and he's actually agnostic atheist too. So, and then somehow he doesn't like titles too, or so. Like,
He
I don't
doesn't
like titles,
labels,
but
yes.
I-
He
I
was
went back-
all
but I
over the
label
place.
the shit out of myself.
I went back
And-
and listened to like a snippet to like see if I recognized his voice. And when I just randomly scrolled into the middle and found him saying something, and he said, "Oh no, I don't. I think truth is what works for humans." And that
Yeah.
was his theory of truth, roughly. I'm paraphrasing, but not too far away from what he actually said.
Well,
I think
it
truth
wasn't.
is what works for humans, and I, you know, I'm just like, oh, okay, but what can you do with that? I mean, what can you do with somebody that
I
says they think
had-
what's true?
Well, wait. He said that Jimbob is good faith too. He mentioned that during the debate. Somehow Jimbob is good faith. They both mentioned that they're both dicks too. I'm a dick. Oh wait, I'm a dick too. Oh, we're both dicks. And
It was bizarre.
the most off topic, like bad moderation. Like James is like sitting there like he's like brain dead or something, like just like smiling all the time when he mentioned DebateCon. That made James smile, but the whole debate was a shit show, like the worst debate I've ever seen in my fucking life. And he said like and this Paul Ingo guy said he was stupid like multiple times during the debate. You had to remind people how he's stupid. He can't have kids. He was a drag queen. Like the debate was very sporadic.
yeah, we got all the insights, like all the secrets. That's fun. That's usually
Well, now I'm going to pick on Jimbob. Jimbob obviously avoided talking about Christianity the whole time and never defended his position either. To be fair, like so they both. That's why I think they both lost. And also, he mentioned that atheists are dogmatic, projecting much. Your fucking whole thing is based on dogma. Get real, buddy. Like that was so stupid.
It's a really,
All right, I'm
it's a
done.
real flat earther move. The counter accusation of your own thing. Simon's getting some love from Robin. Love.
My very favorite Robin.
Hello.
I also want to say hello to
Yes.
Jessica as well out there, and obviously stop
Lisa.
the stupidity. You rock.
Hello, yes, everyone. Welcome, John.
And
How are you?
hi, Catherine, as well. I haven't seen
Yeah,
you for ages.
Hey, Seamus, how you doing? I can't endorse Billy's position more. I've been quite ill over the last few days. I've had quite a bad go of tonsillitis, and I've been in bed with a temperature in and around 40 degrees Celsius for those of us in the civilized world. Sorry for my Yank friends out there.
I get that.
So I was listening to this debate, and I actually at times thought I was fucking hallucinating. I thought it was the
It
fever.
was a little bit creepy. That is correct.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Well, and also, why the hell did he bring Jake the Rattlesnake on the stage? Like, why didn't he just wait till it was done?
They're
He
promoting.
should just waited. I know what he's doing, yeah. But also,
they're
yeah.
promoting,
Also, what did he
yeah,
say? What was the first thing he said? I was kickboxing some lady boys. Like, what does that
That
even?
is true because he's horrible. But yeah, I mean, I understand what
Jimbob said that.
No, Jake, because
Jake the
Oh,
Rattlesnake.
I like what Billy
Yeah.
said. I think Billy hit something interesting. There's definitely a mercantile element to this whole situation. The whole point is I'm putting Andrew Wilson on. I'm putting on Jake the Rattlesnake. All these very conservative YouTuber folks, because guess what? We want them. I want you all to come out. Come out for DebateCon. Come out for DebateCon. There's been a lot of plugs. A lot of plugs.
There's been as
I
long as
understand, though,
he, invites all the other people too. It's not a bad networking move.
But it would be interesting to see other debaters. Like, why not invite
Yeah.
someone like Craig? Invite people from the other side, because what it sounds like is you have a bias for the one side. Like the point of MDD is supposed to be neutrality, but the problem is it really kind of like when I went to DebateCon 5, it was like mostly a bunch of conservative Christians. It was a bunch of conservative Christians. So I'm like, I don't know. It seems like that the MDD is really kind of promoting that narrative. So I'm like, that's cool if that's what you want to do. But I'm just like, you can't really showcase yourself as neutrality if that's,
that's what Basil says. But
couldn't it just be the issue
You go ahead.
could it not just be the issue that the same number of invites have gone out on all sides and only one side has turned up?
Yeah, I mean,
in large numbers. And if that's the case, that's not really on MDD.
There's been a couple until we get a bit more. I think they will want to invite everyone. Let get some thoughts from Andrew over here.
Yeah, you were just talking about the DebateCon thing. I was just looking through the modern day debate posts, and I think I'd have to agree with Issa here. Definitely overrepresentation. It could be the case that they accept it more. I know just generally just because I know more of those people that they are generally very quick to do those things. Maybe that's the case, maybe not. To the debate, like, I know you guys are saying like, oh, it's terrible and everything, all that. I guess from my perspective, I saw it almost as like entertainment. Like it wasn't even a debate anymore for me. So
yeah,
like I when you stop taking it seriously, then you can start to enjoy it. I mean, if I took it seriously, then who knows how long we'd be here just ranting about it. So
yeah,
I took it too serious. Yeah, sorry about that.
I gave up
I
on
ranted
giving.
hard.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm just saying that, like, just for me, I viewed it more as you just gotta accept it sometimes. You gotta accept that sometimes maybe you don't have the best representation on stage.
I gave up pretty much very quickly on listening to a decent argument. I don't know, 10, 15 minutes into it. I said like, oh, okay. And yes, that's exactly, it was entertainment because it was funny overall. For example, there was a moment. Oh my god, this is the best moment of the debate. Everyone should clip it because it was fucking amazing. There was a moment where Jimbob said that it should be illegal to do public suicide. And my brain immediately thought, Jimbob, what are you going to do? Are you going to kill them twice?
It should be illegal.
And I lost it. There's like 5 lines or three lines of me laughing on our Discord conversation because I was actually laughing.
I think he meant to say morally wrong, but
yeah, it's sinful. Maybe
it's still really funny.
Yeah.
No, but like he said, illegal.
But suicide is illegal in most of the Western world, not because we intend to punish the person who has committed suicide, but in order to try and dissuade
Because-
people who are going to assist people committing suicide. That's the whole function of its legality. It's got nothing to do with
Right.
the actual person who is trying to kill themselves.
No,
They don't
what
give a
are you
shit.
going to do? You can
Yeah.
do nothing. You can get away free. They can't punish you for it. And
Don't
that
tell me
is
they're gonna
dark,
punish the poor.
I
but
like
it's true. That
like
is
it.
dark, and I acknowledge it, and no one should ever kill themselves because this is the only life that we have and all of that. But it's funny as hell.
You filthy materialist. You filthy, filthy materialist.
I mean, yeah, but it's true.
Well,
and
look,
you can't
I mean,
dispute it.
I know it is funny, etc. It is funny,
Yes.
but like I guess in his head, he's going through something like, well, look, I'm pro-life, and if I'm pro-life, then I must be anti-abortion. I mean, I must be anti-suicide,
Uh-huh.
right? So therefore, it should be illegal. I mean, in some world, this makes sense, right? If you think it should be illegal to have an abortion, then it should be illegal to commit suicide. Those two things kind of seem similar. But obviously, it's just not a position which is well thought out anyway. And like John says, it's
Right.
probably
Well, the
more
two
about
things-
assistance rather than in the actual
Well,
suicide.
it absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Unless we're planning on pissing on the graves of people who committed suicide, I don't see how what exactly
No,
we
right.
could do.
Yeah,
To,
but we
It's not
should be punishing
something that
those dead
it's not
bodies.
something that you tackle from the punitive because you just
Yeah.
can't. It's something that you tackle from the prevention side. But the fact that he doesn't understand it is so funny. Check this out. Cosmic Gaussian says, "Hey guys, I'm new here. I watched Paul's Ego for years, and that was very weird. He's a pretty hardcore atheist and anti-Christian, so I don't know what he was doing. It's the opposite of what he says usually, I guess." The channel, I put the channel because I didn't know, and MDD doesn't grant us the luxury of publishing the channels that are going to be there on time so that we can maybe do
Maybe the
something.
vape just hit extra hard this time.
I
whatever
don't.
he
Yeah,
Well-
but I've streamed and smoked weed all day. I wouldn't change my views. Like that.
Maybe you should have done it more.
I no, that day I chain smoked all day. It didn't change a thing. That's Paul's, or that should be.
well,
if-
do
Oh,
you think?
can I just
What?
address one other point about modern day debate as well while I'm on the rant? It's just
Yeah.
to say that, James has had a lot of source in inverted commas from modern day debate, and he's put it to some good uses as well. He's he's made a lot of donations to charity. Certainly in the early days, he was doing that all the time. So, fair play to him for that. But when I see an ever-growing collection of Christian, right-wing Christians and Christian nationalists, that kind of thing, and red-pilled Christians, right? Like
Yeah.
in the manosphere, inverted commas,
Yeah.
basically misogynist. Then I do tend to think that he's going for the cash, because those people are obviously drama people. They're not serious debaters as such. They generally don't have great arguments. Andrew doesn't have a good grasp of philosophy. Jimbob's even worse. Well, maybe he's slightly better, but I don't know. They're both pretty
No
bad.
way
They
to-
both make fallacies like they're no tomorrow. But they are they're big on the drama, right? They draw a crowd because they are drama merchants.
Yes.
And I think
Well,
that's kind of
Jimbob's-
the way that modern day debate has been going for some time, down the drama route. And, I think it's just a full circle. And it's probably the most money that James can make on the channel. Hopefully, it's still going to good causes. But
I want to engage that. I think that's an interesting point,
Yeah.
Simos. I think tabloids sell. Like when you go to the supermarkets, wherever, and you have the little tabloid magazine up in the front with all the salacious information, people want to read it because it's drama, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
it is a brilliant, mercantile tactic to be like, let me bring Daniel Hakikachu on to debate this topic, or I'll bring on Andrew Wilson to debate this topic because people are going to want to see it, and they're going to be like, whoa, this is so amazing. But if you're interested in deep
maybe not amazing
conversations,
is the right word, but yeah, this is so entertaining.
entertaining. That's what I
Yeah.
mean by amazing. I don't mean amazing like
yeah.
this is so mind blowing. Like we're really traveling in different kinds of ideas, and I can think like when I want to go to a debate or entertainment or whatever, I'm really interested in like growing as a person. But sometimes that's just not what it is. Like you just have like a trashy action film. You know what I mean? You just put
Yeah.
it on, and you're like, this is just
Absolutely.
It's the same as when it's the distinction between like a clickbait headline on an online news article, where if it was actually trying to convey it, like earnestly convey information, then it wouldn't be formed in the way that it's formed. And I've read some news articles where they actually completely contradict what is in the headline in the article, because what was in the headline was like like an opinion of somebody that they'd interviewed about something that had happened in real life, and their opinion was complete crap.
Yeah. Welcome to Sal Cordova's arguments, by the way.
Yeah, and it's again what you were saying, Simos, with regards to Andrew and Billy. I mean, Billy is just the bastard son of Andrew. So, but what they both, Andrew with more success than Billy, what they do is they try to condense every single aspect of humanity and every single axis of the topic that they're arguing on down to a syllogistic argument. They try and turn it into a logical syllogism, and you just can't do that with humanity. That a logical syllogism is perfectly applicable in a lot of circumstances, and you can use it to discern if somebody is shilling bullshit. But you can't really use a logical syllogism around human behavior, because we use logic to try and rationalize ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we are actually rational. We retcon
absolutely.
rationality onto behavior that isn't rational in the first place. It's like there's no rationality in like some of the violence that gets conducted by humanity. There's no rationality in some of the human desires that we have. There's no rationalizing it. So just like wallpaper pasting a logical syllogism over the top of it, and then beating your opponent around the head with that logical argument doesn't actually solve anything. But this is why they're good rhetoricians, and I think why they are repeatedly invited onto the channel.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the worst of it, though, you're absolutely right. They do that, and I don't necessarily object to that, provided they're well constructed syllogisms, right? But when they do it, and this is the pre-supper angle, which they always, both of those two, would give if they could give the argument any in a better form than they can. But what they've taken from it is to make everything a dichotomy, right? It's a particular type of syllogistic argument. It's not just any syllogistic argument. It's one particular type. And so often, like you're saying, humanity is not a black and white thing. It's nuanced, and there are many positions that you can hold, and then you can't get all of that into a dichotomy, right?
Well, that's it's like when they have their ethical arguments. That it's like what I tend towards like Aristotelian virtue ethics. That's the ethical model that I tend to use, and their ethical model typically will come. They essentially use the presupposition of a moral lawgiver, which is God, but they presuppose that moral lawgiver. Yeah, divine command theory. That's essentially what it reduces down to. But they don't realize that because they don't follow all of the quote unquote divine commands, they have cherry picked them out of their good book.
Yeah. Which is the biggest objection to divine command theory going, right?
Yes.
It's like,
it makes you justify
how do you decide which commands,
It makes you justify a couple of wild stuff like slavery. Let me read some stuff because the chat is getting interesting. Thomas de Quincy says, check this out. In Miss Swinton's garden, it's always summer. The lovely almond tree stood about it in perpetual leaf. Monica Swinton plucked a saffron-colored rose and showed it to David. Isn't it lovely to fall in love with God? It's the greatest romance. To seek him is the greatest adventure. To find him, the greatest human achievement. St. Augustine of Hippo. Who the fuck cares?
Well, yeah, I mean,
There's so many poems. I read once a poem about weed. Should we pay attention to that?
The City of God is an interesting book. I mean, and St. Augustine, of course. I don't know whether it's famous for it or not, but some of the Augustine that I've read is basically the beginning of the precept argument. God, therefore, you know.
And
And that's a fallacy. That's a straight up fallacy of circularity.
I have something else very nice. Ryan Lopez says, fair, but let me ask you a question. Is rape fine? And the answer is no, it violates bodily autonomy. And then wonders whoever wants to jump in. And so let's count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, Isa is part of the team, so let's say 4. And sometimes we have the full stage. And you, Ryan, could also be in here letting us know how we are wrong about what I just said by clicking the link on the top side. Thank you. I have 2 more notes. The next one was when Jimbob invited this guy to the church, right? I honestly wonder if he thinks that a service would change someone's mind, like me, for example. Does he think that me going to a church service would change my mind? Is that what happened there? Because I've never been to a church, but I'm pretty sure that just going to church is not going to convince me.
Well, I have to be honest, Max. Like going to church. Oh, sorry, Andrew, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say, because I'm probably gonna give an answer that's a little contrary to what you guys think. I do think that in some sense, especially for someone like him, it would help because he's a very like spiritual, experimental guy where he wants to sort of have that experience, and that also aids in guiding his beliefs and things like that. I think for someone like you, Max, I think that it may be helpful, maybe not. I would probably guess more on the no side, just because, like, for example, I went to a different religious service. I've attended a mosque where they did a Muslim prayer, and it's not so much that because I have more, I guess, reason that informs my belief that trips me up more, and I'm less open to feeling any experience, even just on like a bias level. So I think for someone like him, it could help. But it's not like a prescription for everyone. I definitely think that you probably have to be open to it. And I think someone like you probably aren't. Although you're open to dialogue and stuff, like you're not agnostic towards it. You obviously think it's like patently false.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and
I
Andrew,
read the book.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But with what you just said there, Andrew, I actually agree. So, for example, we take our kids to we go to like the Easter service and we do the Christingle at Christmas and stuff like that. We go to the local church, St. Mary's. It's a beautiful old church. It's older than the United States. It was built in like the 12th century or something. It's an ancient church. It's beautiful. You walk in through like the gardens, and then like there's the graveyard at the back, which sounds morbid, but actually it's a beautiful like some summer meadow type graveyard. That's and the thing that for me is like when we go in and we do the service and you're singing the hymns and stuff like that, it reminds me of like the hymns and stuff that we used to sing in early schooling. And I know that was like an attempt at indoctrination, and I don't necessarily agree with it. Like my kids don't sing hymns and stuff in school, and the religious education that they have now is nothing like the religious education that I had. It's much more sort of covers all of the different religions now. It's required to by law. You can't just teach one.
Wait, what do you sing? Because that's interesting. Here we sing the hymn, the national anthem, and we sing a song to the flag.
So when they don't tend to sing at all in the school assemblies now. So we used to have a school assembly.
Wow, that's nice.
Twice a week, I think we had the school assembly, and then the school assembly you would open up with singing some hymns. There was various ones. Sometimes it wasn't even necessarily a hymn. It might have been just like a religiously orientated song, like he's got the whole wide world in his hands. You know, something that kids could sing along to.
Our hymn begins with Orientals, the nation or the grave. That is something very easy to digest when you're 6 years old.
But my point is that when I go to the church, it does kick me in the feels. Like I do feel something. I do get a sense of it does tug on something in me, but it doesn't change my conclusion about the existence or non-existence of God, because I haven't come to that conclusion based on feelings. I've come to that conclusion based on looking at what I think is likely to be the case based on the information that I have at hand. That's an epistemic conclusion. Trying to understand what I think is the actual ontology of the universe. It's not based on how I feel when I walk into this ancient stone building and sing a song.
Yes, especially when they never took me, so I have no bond to that whatsoever. To me, I'm completely indifferent to all religious demonstrations of every kind, and so it's just irrelevant. You know, I don't think that's for people that do it. There's a community thing, custom. You know, you get grown into it. There's a lot of other reasons which I don't care a little any about, right?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Church's
Ryan?
purpose isn't really supposed to be apologetic in the first sense either. Like, I think like sure, it can give conviction and stuff, but you shouldn't just be like, oh, I went to a church service and I felt something, therefore I should be a Christian. I don't think that's a very good reason at all to be a Christian or a Muslim. I go to a mosque and I feel something, therefore I should be a Muslim. I don't think that's any good. So I think the purpose is more it's of practice. It's not supposed to be like if it was an apologetic class, it would be an apologetic class, not church service.
Yeah, and certainly the sorry, Seamus, go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think those feels are a major part of why people gravitate to going to church so often, and Christianity in general. Speaking from in an Anglican country.
Yeah, sure. It's not saying
like,
that. It
I mean, when you're a child and your parents take you to church, that extra size, the size of the place, the high voltage ceiling, the coldness, the dampness, almost, the hushed tones that people. All of that adds to an air of mystery and an air of awe. And so I'm not surprised that children, fall to some sense of wonderment at the whole process, especially when they see an authority figure standing up there talking like gibberish. I'm sorry to say it, but
and children have only ever known or understood a world with agency. Everything in the world happens because somebody causes it. So when somebody tells you that an all-powerful God created the universe, you just go, yeah, okay, makes sense. As a child, it like everything about your worldview up to that point makes sense. And you get some children which are more introspective than others will sort of go, well, maybe.
It's the feels that I was thinking about there. Because that's reinforcing exactly what the authority figures are telling you. It's the feeling of awe and wonderment about this place. Anyway, go ahead, Max. Sorry.
Jimbob says, and I totally disagree because I experienced it myself. He says that not teaching kids that they have a purpose, and he calls it an accident and so on. And it's a gross trauma of how you raised a kid when you're atheist, because he's thinking from his own framework of him losing his purpose today, which is worshiping God. So he comes into crisis mode. He can't handle that. But when you're a kid, And since you're a kid, they tell you that this is the life that you have, and you have to make your purpose today. And it's important because what you do today affects everyone else, and we can care about each other and so on. You spend all your life developing that sense. So it's never a crisis. It's just
Cool.
you find what you can do, what your place is in this world, and you go for it, right? Whether you want to be a dentist or whatever, you just
But
don't have the problem.
and we've all spoken about this at length, doesn't it? It depends what you mean by purpose. So like our
Right.
purpose as a species is to, as individuals, as part of a species, is to persist and reproduce and to continue ourselves, like this individual body, as long as it's humanly possible, and also to propagate the species, so the species can continue to exist and evolve as long as is possible. And really, I don't see Billy Bob's like religious view as much different than that. I just consider him to be under a misapprehension. He is convinced that he needs to perform this set of actions in this life in order to get into heaven, in order that some part of him, his consciousness, continue existing in some other form. So his purpose is the same as my purpose. He's just under a misconception of what that there is an afterlife. I don't think there is one. So my purpose stops. Like, I don't need to follow all of these religious prescriptions in order to secure my place in that afterlife, because I don't believe it exists, and he does. But the
Wait,
purpose
you
is the
mean
same.
you
The
mean
purpose
you
is,
mean you mean Jim you mean Jim Bob though? You said Billy Bob, I think.
did I?
Yes.
Right?
Ah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
Same
It
difference.
doesn't matter either way, but yeah.
yeah, you knew who I was
I
talking
just take
about. Yeah,
offense.
sorry.
I just take offense because I thought you were talking to me,
Yeah.
but then I'm like,
No,
wait,
no,
I
sorry.
don't fucking.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm like, what?
You and
I
Jim
think,
Bob are definitely
well,
not the same
another-
person at all.
Another thing that I would take umbrage about what he's saying there is trying to force kids to decide what their purpose is. You know, like kids need.
Right.
I mean, I never really had somebody. My father never said to me, like, right, you at 8 years old, you have to decide what you've got to do because you're a man now. What are you going to do? Because I had
Right.
no bloody idea what I wanted to do till I was like 15 or something. And at that point, you know, like it was a stress for me to decide what subjects I wanted to keep and what to do in O level. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know. And it wasn't until I was 15 that I actually found a passion, which I went, oh,
You
this is
find
what I
that you
want to do.
find, yes, it's
You know?
Was
and you're
It's funny, actually.
encouraged
My
to search.
dad.
And the topic of education came up, and Jimbob says, if you don't believe that there's an ultimate purpose, what good is education? It's like, because you get to know stuff, and that is cool.
Yeah.
Because now you know, because knowing is cool. And there are ways to, you can encourage, my parents encourage me to learn
Yeah.
always.
But
It's not a
Yeah.
problem.
It's funny, like with what Simas just said there. So, like, yeah, my dad, I think, actually took one of the better approaches. Obviously, I'm going to be biased, but he didn't say that I had to know. Like a lot of parents are saying, right, you need to pick a career because now you're starting to do your GCSEs. So, and this is when we started to do study for our GCSEs. This is where we started to select our subjects. You had to pick one of the STEM subjects. So you either had to do chemistry, biology, or physics. You had like you know,
Oh,
you
you're
could choose
breaking
from
up.
like geography or history or whatever. You could choose between the humanities. Oh, sorry. Is that better?
Yes, I
Get rid of
think
that.
so.
Okay,
Ryan
is that any
Lopez
better?
and William Graves are crashing out in the chat, and I love it.
Yeah.
But what my dad
I
said to
don't
me
think
is,
it as well.
with just quickly, Simas, what my dad said to me is just pick subjects, decide what you
Oh
enjoy
no, it's
subject
happening
wise, because if you enjoy
Yeah.
studying it, you will do better at it.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, but it's just completely ignoring that you can have
But
a secular.
to say you got to decide on what the purpose of your life is to a child is just tantamount to saying, you're going to do what I tell you, because kids.
Can
don't know.
I reply to this very interesting question? What is the purpose of a thumb? To grab,
Play video games.
because
Purpose of a
when
thumb.
yes, because it's
A
an
banana,
evolutionary advantage to be able to
specifically.
put
remember.
stuff in your mouth, it keeps you alive.
Who asked that, by the way? Let me.
It was Ryan Lopez.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, right.
Love it.
What's the thumb's purpose? He says, "What's a germ's purpose?"
Yes.
Oh, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yes, the difference between nomological and axiological, Ryan.
Simons, I don't know if you saw, but I had a debate recently
Well,
with a
well,
very
this is
interesting
synonymizing. Yeah, this.
You're still cutting out, John.
Yes, you're cutting out. Simons, it was an interesting fellow that I got to say by the end when we were done after 3 hours. He said like 5 times in a row that humans don't have brains. It was awesome.
Humans don't have brains. Love it.
Yeah, love it. It was
I just want to
fun
jump
around.
something in.
Yes, Andrew, go ahead.
Because you guys were talking about this, I didn't find the right time to say this, and also I have to go.
Go for it. Don't worry.
Yeah, you guys were talking about like the purpose and stuff, and this is where I think also going back to the debate, where sometimes I think Jimbob was a little bit, maybe he didn't fully articulate, or maybe he just doesn't understand. Either or, but in the sense of like people, especially like the atheist side and this side, or this secular humanist side, which the other guy was supposed to be, is supposed to say like, oh, I have value in my personal life, or I have purpose and I have morals in my personal life. Jim, I think that his point is what he's supposed to do, at least, which I don't think maybe he did very successfully, is to try and show, okay, yeah, you have those, but are those things like as you believe them to be objective and rational? And I think that's where I think he should take that argument going on. But good talk with you guys. It's kind of cool to be a part of the atheist club, I guess, because that's what it's been. But
well, I mean, we got it swings. It swings.
No.
We have a bunch of varied people, but you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
It was fun having you.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun talking to you guys. I got
Ryan,
tomorrow, so.
Well,
thank
good
you,
luck on that. I hope you kick the test's butt. Ryan Lopez says, "Do better atheists," while hiding in the chat. So just pointing that out.
I'm not an atheist. Isa's not an atheist.
Yeah,
Max is an atheist. I believe Billy's an atheist, and Simos is an atheist.
Wait, I'm agnostic more than.
Agnostic,
well, I guess you can consider that atheist. I guess maybe some people.
Functionally, I'm an atheist.
Whatever
but I am an
label you
agnostic,
prefer, Bill.
same as you.
Whatever label you prefer, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. It's more subjective than anything. It's like personal, like what you believe in. Yeah, more than anything.
Robin Webster says, "My purpose in life is to mock Trump, and I approve." I approve. William crashing out some more. How does the measure with genie lamp or the universe, or what the hell is that emoji?
How does the measure with
English not very good. Keep practice, my friend. Oh, what is the measure of the universe? Small or little? Are you kidding me? Are you a flat earther? The plot thickens.
Little.
The universe is very, very, very big, very big, very big, like this, bigger.
Well,
let me give you a quote here. I think it's a Woody Allen quote, actually. The universe is a very big place, especially when you lose your keys.
Yeah. And how do we measure it? Well, we measure the universe in a couple of ways. Locally, we use something called parallax. When the Earth is at apogee or perigee, then we can use trigonometry to measure distances.
Hold that thought, because the answer is you are human. Jesus is problem. Love it. You're missing some words there.
And then when we want to measure extreme distances, like hundreds, thousands, millions, billions of light years, then we have to use lumens from supernovas.
No, we use very long tape measures that are taken
very
to
long
stars
tape.
in a spaceship. Yes.
I use spaghetti.
We pace it out.
Yes, or toilet paper. Many rolls on toilet paper, and you get there very fast.
Oh yeah, that was Mason
There
Thompson.
wasn't much else. Hold on, let me check my notes to see because I may have one final note or what. Oh yes, one more. That is the second best moment that Jimbob said that the gay people don't have sex because you can only have sex with the opposite sex. And I also laughed quite a bit at that because Jimbob, I don't know if you've ever seen in the porn websites, there's a whole category dedicated to it. So they definitely do have sex. Just that.
Well,
Isn't
just
this
quote.
because Jim Bob
He
would just
told
find?
people to look up. Sorry, John, I cut you off.
No, you go on, Billy.
He said. Also said. I forget what the question was, but he's like, "Yeah, you should look it up." Well, maybe he should look that up too, right?
Yes.
Take
Yeah.
a quick look. All
Uh-uh.
right, John.
There's a
Google's your
giant
friend.
section of the internet dedicated to that, Jimbo. We can show you around. We can show you how to get there,
Yeah.
but they definitely do have sex every which way. So I'm glad we settled that.
I strongly suspect Jim Bob's history on his internet browser is already well aware of the existence of some of these said categories.
Yeah.
But not that I don't know. I just there are too many too many like right wing conservative religious Christians that for some inexplicable reason keep getting caught with rent boys. And I'm not saying that Billy is one of them,
That
but I wouldn't be
happens.
surprised.
That happens a lot.
But just with quickly to the whole sex thing, like there's a lot of obviously I'm in jest. I'm not actually accusing him of anything. It's all in
No, but there
sort of
are
in
cases, and you like
there are, yeah. I'm not,
in the
yeah.
serious aspect of the joke. There are cases of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the thing with regards to like what Jim Bob said about like you can't be having sex if you're gay, it's not actually sex. From his position, because sex is solely for the purpose of reproduction, that's his religious position, then I can understand where he's coming from. But that also means that my wife and I aren't actually having sex either. Technically, we're sodomites because I've had a vasectomy. So no sex we
Yeah.
have of any kind is for reproduction.
Yeah, it's
And
very difficult
also,
to be not a sodomite when you
Yeah.
apply the definition. Yeah, I have a video on that.
Can I just point out?
Yes. go on.
Can I just point out that it's probably so he can say he didn't have sex before marriage.
Maybe.
There you
That
go.
is so much. Can you imagine the nightmare of getting married with someone and you go to the wedding night and it's horrible and it's going to be like that forever. That is just sounds like a nightmare. Stop the stupidity for gifted five Yerba Mate Talks memberships, and they went to Tim Davidson, Ragebot, Harold Carlson, Lisa, and Dip Dip. That is there's also one aspect that you rarely gets brought up when it comes to Christian children. The fact that you're telling them that they are inherently sinful, I think that is so wrong, that no matter what they do, that original sin still lingers on them. I think that is weird to say the least.
well, can I just make a quick distinction there? So
Yeah.
I think parents have the right to impart some or all of their morality onto their children. I think that is a parental right within reason. Like if you're some kind of crazy ass masochist and you're trying to impart, like you're a sociopath and you're trying to tell your kids that it's okay to murder other people if they piss you off or something, obviously we do have to have some brackets on it. Now, where I disagree with the religious impartment of morality is when you try to get your kids to endorse your religious position by threatening them with burning in hell forever. It's okay to say,
Right.
we think this is wrong because this is our religious position, or this is my religious position, and as my child, I would like you to endorse it. But it is absolutely wrong to essentially indoctrinate them with a religious position by threatening them with eternal torture in hell. That's just mental and psychological abuse at that point.
Right. Yeah, I agree that, and the fact that they're imperfect and they're evil by nature and so on. I think that's problematic. to tell the children. I didn't say anything about, parents' rights. I just think that it's weird. That's
There
why
was
that's how you get people who don't think that
there was a
the
really
values.
interesting.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
So there
No, it's
was a
okay.
really interesting video from genetically modified skeptic. I think it was last week. It could have been this week, about him talking about him growing up and going to college in an evangelical background, and he was homeschooled until he went to college, basically. And obviously he thought he was going to have a terrible time because it's there's a lot of anxiety around that. Turns out he's a really nice guy and he made friends easily and stuff. But the stories he was saying or telling of the people around him and his wife who met there, about their sexual experiences and what it was doing to the girls more than the boys, right? The girls were coming away with a lot of anxiety and repression. And the guys were, exactly what you'd expect, right? Coming away with, bad experiences because, they were quick to try and get it over with, etc., etc. There was no love involved as such. And it was described a really terrible situation, right? Of everybody lying in order to try and get through this awkward teenage period where sex is so much on the front of people's minds. It was quite shocking actually to me. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was how the guys would use as one of their chat up lines to try and get a girl into bed is, God has drawn me to you. I really feel God spoke to me when I saw you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
just
Anyway,
a
genetically
religious
modified.
manipulation.
I've said
Yeah,
it many.
basically. Yeah.
I've
Guys,
said it
guys.
many
Well, I don't know.
times. Here, I've said it many times here. It's illegal to homeschool your children here. And there wasn't an explicit law. So the president on the right, the conservative on the right, he claims to be a Christian, but I'm doubtful. But it was them. They actually made it into law that education as defined in the Constitution means that you have to go to school, whether it's a private school or a public school. It's just mandatory. And
Well,
I have a hard time not liking education. I'm sorry, even when it comes from the right.
Well, it's weird. In the UK, you are allowed to homeschool your children, but homeschooling your children is monitored. So you're required to do the key stage exams so the state can ensure that you are being properly educated. Because we have a national curriculum. It's a bit up in the air of late because Tony Blair introduced the academy system. And the academies, they still have to hit certain benchmarks in terms of academic attainment, but they don't have to follow a national curriculum as such, although one does still exist for the comprehensive school system. So I'm not sure how that has affected what the performance requirement is on homeschooling. But if children who are being homeschooled do start to fall behind, then there is a requirement for them to be reintroduced into the academic system. And then obviously we've got the private school system as well, which again is required to hit academic benchmarks, but they don't have to follow a particular national curriculum. Homeschooling, frankly, though, it just depends on the parents. So my wife is a Band 7 nurse. She had to go to university for that. She has a BSc. I'm an architectural technologist, which is a very generalist education. We did law, chemistry, physics, mathematics, structural engineering components. We hit all of those bases. So a very generalist education. So if I was required to homeschool my children, between me and my wife, they would get a pretty comprehensive education. Whereas if, for example, my wife was dealing with a lady, I say a lady, it was a 17-year-old girl. She's a neonatal nurse, and this young girl was pregnant, and she hadn't come to any of her she didn't realize that she was pregnant. She hadn't come to any of her like prenatal screening scans or anything. And it turned out this young girl's baby needed to be delivered by C-section premature, and the baby had the mum had something called amniotic banding, which is excess protein in the amniotic fluid, and it essentially meant this baby was going to be born without an arm. And when the baby was eventually born and put in the mother's arms, and the mum looked at my wife and said, "Oh, but you know, the baby, because it's premature, the arm will continue growing, right?" This girl had been so poorly educated and ill-informed that because she'd been told that the baby was premature and it was going to be quote unquote underdeveloped, when it was born without an arm, because the amniotic banding had essentially docked the arm, it hadn't formed in utero, she thought that the underdeveloped part of her baby was the arm, and the arm was going to carry on growing ex utero. Like, now that young girl hadn't been homeschooled, but if she with that level of ignorance at play, if she tried to homeschool children, that's just not going to fly. There's no way that's viable. So
Yeah.
who homeschools the child is probably the most important factor here, and that needs to be taken into account.
Yeah, but then they complain about big government, and that now means that you have to legislate people in their house, and you have to come up with criteria and spend money. It's easier to just have everyone at school, and better, right? You can get a more homogeneous education. And this is coming, like, I'm actually defending the right in my
It
country, which
is.
is like a bunch of weirds. But I am all pro education. I love the fact that that is a thing here, and I don't understand how more people don't kind of agree with that. A dumbass educating a child is a very dangerous thing. I love that. I agree with that outside specific childhood developmental issues or so. Yeah. Simons, give me 1 second. I thought I had done that, but I'll take care of it. Boom, boom, boom. All
great.
right. I don't think there is much else to say about the debate. It was a strange one, but it was a good one. Tomorrow, what day is it? It's Tuesday. Don't know what we're doing, but we might be doing something. Let's go around, give our final thoughts, and we'll be on our way. Billy, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think I already said enough that one time. I just went off because I just was like, yeah. But yeah, other than that, yeah. Hopefully the next debate is better, and maybe
Oh
well,
yeah.
probably not. We'll see. We'll see though.
We'll see. Simon shared the link of the thing he was talking about just a few minutes ago. William Graves keeps crashing out. Why a baby skin color is color white, yellow, and black? White, yellow, and black. White, yellow, and black. A tiger.
Yeah, it's because it's an evolutionary trait.
Yeah.
So, William, you'll probably have to learn a little bit about evolution to understand that.
Yeah.
But basically, it's an adaptation to the environment.
Yeah. Camouflage, basically.
And well,
No.
and if
Nothing like
a lot
that.
of a lot of babies are born yellow as well, because a huge number of babies have jaundice because they've got an excess of bilirubin, and we put them under UV lights to help them filter it out. It's really, really, really common.
Have a song. Sorry, I thought about the bilirubin. In Spanish, we have a song that goes "Me sube la bilirubin," a hymn of merengue music. Means exactly that. And it's a guy singing with merengue like sounds about when he looks at her that the bilirubin levels elevate. It's a modern poetry. I'm sorry.
I love this comment from Greg in response. It sounds like your lady has some explaining to do.
That is, yes, you know. And the worst thing, I mean, the worst thing it would be if you're like 1/3 of each. There, you know, there's something like weird going on, nefarious even. William Graves, why first English? I don't answer. Love it. Love that. I understood about a pig. You love to eat some.
Bacon.
What the fuck is that? Bacon. Yes, bacon is good. Bacon is delicious.
Yep.
That's why. That's why people eat it. Yeah, you're
And
right.
ham, and there's pork chops.
Yeah, and people eat the ostrich and horse and
It's a
camel.
very strong flavour though, and when it goes off, you can't really tell very easily that the pork is off, can you? Because it's such a strong flavour.
Yeah, delicious. Pork ribs. Pork.
Oh, don't start me
Uh,
Oh
on
yeah.
ribs. Oh,
meow.
ribs. I love ribs. I
Yeah.
married one.
uh, dry. Dry aged Spanish ham. The one that is, we call it crudo, which means raw, but it's dry aged. Oh my god. Well, what pork legs? The religious that don't eat pork, they have no idea what they're missing.
Yeah.
John, final thoughts?
Closely mirrored Billy's, actually. It was a bit of a waste of time. Didn't really cover the actual debate topic. Jimbob did his usual, as far as I can tell. Although, again, like I said, I was listening to this debate half asleep, because of the time and everything. Paul, I don't know, Paul Eng. Does that mean he's English? I don't know.
No, it's Paul's ego. The channel is on MDD video, but it's under a different name for some reason.
Yeah, fine.
Hold on, I'll tell you. I'll share.
Well, he
it.
didn't sound English, so but I couldn't work out what that.
No, onion.
suffix
It's onion nuggets, and the actual name is Paul's ego.
Yeah. I mean,
There-
based
there it
on
is.
what one of the commenters said was that actually he's a pretty hardcore atheist, and I don't know what he was doing there. Actually, with that comment, I'm wondering if he's potentially made the observation of MDD that it has swung very, in terms of like not necessarily on purpose, but like a lot of the comments, a lot of the chat is very much like on the right now, because people like excuse me, people like Jimbob and Andrew have brought that crowd with them from their channels, which are pretty large
Yep.
channels in their own right. So maybe he was trying to sort of pander to that a little bit, like by I don't know. That's me looking in for a motivation that I don't have an actual justification for there, but maybe that's why, if that's the case. But yeah, Paul did seem to want to spend a lot of time talking about himself. If the debate topic was what's best for humanity, Christianity, or Paul, I don't really know where we go with that, to be honest.
Yes.
So it would have been nice if he'd have engaged with the topic and actually known what he didn't. I don't even think he demonstrated that he knew what secular humanism was.
No, it was bad. It was really, really bad.
So yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts on it.
Stop the Stupidity says, I think William's purpose is spouting random words. And then he was like, yes, skin color. I don't need detailed. Stop the Stupidity answer. Okay.
Okay.
A pig, or what you looking for? A name of dinosaur? A pig? He is a little bit randomish, if you will.
I think he's confusing a pig with a chicken there.
Yeah, maybe.
Both taste great. Don't get me wrong. Both taste great, but you know.
Well, yeah, because he thinks that because of the birds and the dinosaurs, like because he's like birds are dinosaurs.
You know that it has to be the chicken, because it's what produces the final protein in the evolution to make the eggs. So I think we settled that with science, bitches. Final thoughts, Simons?
Thank you. All right, I just want to say there was only one winner in this debate, and that was me, because I switched it off after 5 minutes of listening to Bollocks by Jimbob.
Fair enough.
I think that should be the title of his channel, Bollocks by Jimbob. I think that's much more catchy, and he'll probably do a lot better with that title. Other than that, I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting you all and seeing you all and talking to you all again. Thank you, John. It's good to see you as well, John. Unexpected, but lovely to see you. Thank you, Billy.
Yeah.
I don't communicate much, but I
Been a-
do
a
occasionally
little
click
while,
on your
Seamus.
videos to try and give you a view. And
Thanks, man.
I wanted to talk to you about the Quran dilemma, is it, or something like that?
The Islamic dilemma,
Oh yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Give me one
never
second. We
mind.
can take a moment on that. Robin says, I was worried that William had a stroke like me. I love that you're joking about that, Robin. Thank you.
Oh,
I was worried too. Isa, do you want to give final thoughts and then we can hear out what Simons wanted to talk about the Islamic dilemma? Because I've completely forgot. And thank you,
it's all right.
you reminded me. Isa, you there. Report. 1, 2, 1, 2. Should I yell at him? Because maybe he fell asleep.
Okay.
Well, let's not do that. All right, Simos. I love the Islamic dilemma topic. I find it fascinating. So I can. What do you have in mind?
Well, I don't understand it. Number one, I think
Oh,
it's a whole heap of rubbish piled on, and more of rubbish piled
I
on
understand.
misunderstandings, piled upon just differences in worldviews that decidedly don't want to understand each other.
Right.
So very much
Okay.
like yeah,
I
very
can
much like
explain
that.
it. I can explain it because I understand it.
Okay.
And I understand your position too, though, because you're
Yeah.
looking at it from the outside.
Yes.
So it is basically boils down to my fantasy is better than yours. But that being said,
No.
within the rules of that fantasy, the argument to me, as even as an atheist, is interesting because the framing is this one: we have the Bible, we have the Quran after. Some people are now saying that Muslim, on the Muslim side,
Yeah.
they are making an argument that Islam is true because the Bible has been corrupted. Kind of cherry picking a verse on the Quran that talks about the conservation and preservation of the Quran, yada yada. So to them, that leads into the Bible and the Torah have been corrupted.
And the Torah.
So
Okay.
and the Torah, yes, all of the scriptures that came before have been corrupted. That's
I thought it
how.
was just the Gospels, but okay.
No, both
Okay.
the Injil and the Torah. So the Christians came up with this dilemma, which is an actual dilemma. It's a true dichotomy, and it's a lose-lose situation for the Muslims because the Quran actually has a verse or many verses that affirms the previous scripture as the authoritative word of God, as previous revelation. So what these
Yeah.
people are
Revelation.
saying,
Yeah.
they're contradicting the Quran, but the Quran tells you to affirm a corrupted book. So if you go down the route that the scripture is not corrupted, the Quran tells you to judge by the previous scripture.
Yeah.
So that would mean that Islam is false because it breaks this or other tenet that the Bible says about false prophets or whatever, whatever, whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever you choose. In another case, if you say that, yes, the scripture has been corrupted because the Quran says that you should trust the previous scriptures, the Quran is recommending you to go judge by previous scripture which are corrupted. So that means that the Quran is false, that the Quran cannot be from God. And that
Right.
is kind of the argument of the Islamic dilemma, which is
Okay.
argument wise, when you are bound to that paradigm, is a very strong argument from the Christians. It has one critical flaw that makes it very interesting, but also useless because you can just not take the position that it is corrupted or and that's it. It doesn't
Yeah.
really apply to you.
Okay. Right. So I think I think you'd have to go. I think personally that the argument stems from an interpretation of the Quran, which says that the words themselves are corrupted. But does
Yes.
that necessarily mean that the prophets themselves were corrupted? Because I don't think those two things follow.
No, they are criticizing that there is this verse of a dispute between Jews that go to Muhammad, and Muhammad gets a revelation, or Muhammad tells them, "Why do you
Yeah.
come to me when you should judge by the book that you
Yeah.
have?"
Sure.
So it is an internal and an external contradiction, but
But
it's a good
my
argument from the Christian point of view, though.
right. Well, maybe. I don't think it is, and here's why I don't think it is. Firstly, it's not from the Christian because,
Yeah.
as we know, that the Gospels have been corrupted by later Christianity, not by the prophets, not by the actual prophets themselves, but later
Wait, but what are you
accretions.
calling corruption? Are you calling corruption, scribal errors and so on?
No, no, no. I'm talking about rewriting the when in those translations, right? Into the Greek, for instance, or into later into Latin. That those translations have additions to them. The original first versions of Mark don't have the resurrection at all, right?
The ending, yes, I know about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So you
Uh-huh.
could quite honestly say, well, that's a corruption that Christianity has placed on the gospel because the originals aren't like that, and those aren't even the originals, by the way. So I
No,
do think that
I understand.
there's a little bit of wiggle room there, is what I'm saying,
Right.
between saying what are you saying is corrupted, the actual book itself, right, or the revelation from God. So that those are two different things, and that would be
Right.
my argument.
That would
From
be a valid objection,
yeah,
but if you were a Muslim, sure.
yeah,
But there are not only there are counters. The funniest thing ever is that when Muslims get pressed on the Islamic dilemma, they implode. So
mm.
it's funny as hell. It has
Yeah. No, that's fine.
that
That's fine.
capacity.
That's fine. Like I don't have a dog in the fight, right? But
Right.
I'm just saying. Look, the number of times I've heard Christians say, "Oh, well, that verse is metaphorical. That doesn't mean it literally." Dot dot dot. Right?
No, of course.
Uh,
That's
and
why
why?
you talk
So you could
to
say.
them.
So hang
But
on a minute. So you could say exactly the same thing about the Quran. You could say, okay, well, it
yeah,
says that
but
this bit
this
here
is
is specifically about the prophets, but what it's really referring to, that's metaphorical. What it means is the writings that were later accretioned or accreted to the prophets.
right.
So
But
Well,
they
yeah,
all
because
have
like the Quran has the same issue, doesn't it? Because it has abrogation and the
yes,
hadiths. Like
yeah. But
Muhammad
then you just
was
get into
was the
what
prophet,
about this?
and somebody after the fact. Yeah, but that's what it always ends up in, doesn't it? Because this is what
yeah,
essentially we are talking about two different religious interpretations of the quote unquote God. But the thing is, like abrogation, where I would say that Islam has Christianity beat in this regard is that they do principally have the one prophet, and you could unabrogate it and you could jettison the hadiths if you wanted to, but that's how you end up
some do. Yeah,
like whereas with Christianity the thing has been so chopped, muddled, and frankly like fucked with so comprehensively, you could be like unmuddling that seems like a much bigger task. And again,
yes.
I don't have a dog in the fight either. I'm a true agnostic. I, so,
Yeah,
but yeah,
But it's an interesting argument. That's why Isa and I kind of like we love it, and it makes the Muslims implode. So it's also funny as hell because Daniel Pikachu tried to argue against David Wood on that and failed, and then tried against this guy called God Logic and also failed. So they inevitably end up going to that's not what the word means in Arabic.
Arabic, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, Ahl al Kitab doesn't mean the people of the book. It means something else. Or the other one, what is
I mean,
it?
that's vague enough, right there, as to make the
Uh,
argument false. But
it starts with an M, the guardian of the book, or something like that.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. I
the
can't remember the name. Yeah.
Mahmadin. Mahmadin.
Mahmadin.
They say that it's guardian and so on, and there's like a whole controversy over who is the guardian of what and when, and they always end up lying. And I know because I have Isa, and I can double check because I'm not a dumbass. I can double check the Arabic, and they're always lying about that. Whenever they tell you the linguistic thing, always they're being dishonest with what they're saying. All right, with that, people, thank you so much for being here. Thank everyone that came on the panel. William, take your meds because you are flailing a little bit too much. Before you make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send it to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your seat, and just subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks. And tomorrow, last day of the month, we're doing something. Take care. We'll catch you on the next one. Good night.
Yep.